Hello and welcome once again to Spotlight on Laurel, her history and her people, an audio-video series designed to preserve the rich heritage of London and Laurel County. Brought to you by the Video Guy and the Sentinel-Echo and presented each week on WJTE-FM 98.5. Well, it's fitting this week. It's World Chicken Festival time again, and so today we're pleased to have Ken Harvey, who for many years was the Director of Tourism for Laurel County. How you doing, Ken?
Good morning, kid. Boy, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I hadn't seen you in a while. And Doug Harris, too, is here.
Yeah, Doug's one of my very best friends. Goes way, way back. I've put him to work over the years.
Yeah, and we're going to talk some about that. So first, though, Ken, I like to begin by asking you about your family, your personal heritage, your roots, and how did you wind up in Laurel County? Because I know you're not originally from here.
No, I came here out of Cincinnati, but my family, I'm married to my wife, Cheryl. We were high school sweethearts. I went to Purdue University, and we got married 2 months after I graduated. We have two daughters. One is Kelly.
Yeah.
She is now Kelly Burton. It's hard to say that. Who, after all these years, is now the co-director for the
Yes.
London Laurel County Tourist Commission.
Yes.
And that just, it's really strange how things work out.
Yes.
But I was transferred to London as a Kmart manager.
Okay.
That's what I did straight out of school. I was going to be a lawyer. Said, no, I want to get married and get a job. So I started in retail. I was supposed to be here 1 year, and I did not want to leave. I just liked it here, and it was costing me promotions not to go. And I don't know how I became a tourism director. I was in Lexington newspaper. My brother-in-law had been working in Pennsylvania, and they moved his job to Mexico, and I was in the want ads looking for something. How he's going to support my sister. Next thing you know, I see the ad for this, and next thing you know, I'm a tourism director.
What year was that?
That was in 1986.
86, you became the tourism
Yeah.
director. All right. So the changes that you've seen in our county, of course, you've been retired, what, 7 years?
Going on 7. Boy, you just reminded me when I got here. Yeah, I've not been in this office but twice since I left.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed when you walked up, you were like, hey, I hadn't seen that. Hey, that looks good.
Oh, they've done a wonderful job. Yeah, it looks
yeah.
nice in here. Really
Yeah.
looks nice.
So, but obviously one of the changes, Kmart's no longer here. There's been a lot of changes in Laurel County. But I think, too, Laurel County has grown and not to slight any one thing, but I think maybe the Chicken Festival had a lot to do with that. And how does something like an event of that magnitude come to be?
It was really strange. When I took the tourism job, we were working on a Williams Road Village out at Levi Jackson State Park. I mean, I spent a year just getting log cabins and working on developing that. And Delford McKnight, who built this building, came by my office and said, we need to do something in the way of a festival around the chicken. And he was had done some renovations for JRN, John R. Neal Corporation, which owned the original restaurant.
Okay.
And he had a contact there, and I said, I'm too busy. A year later, I called him and said, you still want to talk about that festival? And he was here. And lo and behold, called a bunch of people and asked them if they wanted to sit down and talk about doing a festival around the chicken. And we met for months and months. We went and visited other festivals. We went to the Pumpkin Festival up in Ohio, of all places. And one of the things that we left with out of there, and they've been going 86 years, and they had everything just perfect. We stayed through there. They said, when you go back to your community, remember, you got to do what will work in your town, your community, not what works for us. So that's kind of how we tried to view everything we were planning. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, we planned, and we thought we might be ready for a festival. And we learned every year a great deal.
So it's down to an art now, but I know the first years were there's some kinks in those, but the crowds were amazing. And the thing about it was, nobody, I don't think, expected it to be that big. But let's go back just a second to Delford's initial vision for this thing, the chicken, and I'm assuming that was based on Colonel Sanders.
Absolutely. That would have been. We said if we're going to do something around a chicken, 1990 was the year to do it. That would have been the Colonel Sanders' 100th birthday.
Okay.
And that was also the year that It reopened the Sanders Cafe and Museum.
Okay.
I mean, this was a replica of what it looked like back in the 40s.
Right.
And we had something very unique that was nowhere else in the world, and that was where KFC started.
That's right.
So that gave us our uniqueness.
Yes. So, and that's the initial vision of it. But KFC has benefited from the marketing of this thing without even being actively involved for all these years.
At times they were, and we would work with their promotional people out of Chicago, and they were doing such a good job, they'd always get promoted. So the next year was starting all over.
Right. So you have to do that.
But it was not a KFC festival, and we tried to emphasize that.
Yeah.
You know, it was not a KFC, and that was hard to say when you were talking about, you know, the original restaurant.
Exactly. Well, who had the initial idea of taking the thing downtown? Is that something you saw somewhere else? Somebody was being successful with that? Because
Circleville, Ohio, the Pumpkin Festival, with a person, there were 13 of us on the steering committee, we called it, said if we're going to do it, it has to be downtown.
Did you get pushback from that? I'm assuming.
You know, we created some traffic problems, you know, through the flow getting around. That really took a lot of work, you know, coordinate with the school buses to get it out. And one of the things that they started, the school, they called off school on Friday, Thursday, and Friday.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Well, there were, you know, one of the things we were trying to do were all the food, give the nonprofits an opportunity for fundraising. That was one of the objectives. You know, we can go on and whatever, but the school groups were one of them. And golly, we wanted stuff for the kids. That's where the rides came in.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. So just of that magnitude to set up the rides and do all that downtown. I mean, I'm sure that was mind-boggling to a lot of folks at the time. You had so many people though, and we're going to name some of those in a minute. But you had so many people who jumped on board and said, "Hey, let's do this. Let's roll our sleeves up and get our feet wet here and see if this thing will work." And I think at the time, the area was kind of entertainment starved in a way. There wasn't a lot to do really here, you know. And so that first year, those crowds were, I remember, and we were part of the gospel thing because I think it's Lawrence called my uncle, C.A. Williams, who's gone on to be with the Lord, but he was going pretty strong at that time. And he said, "Hey, put us a Sunday thing together." So I was his nephew, and it kind of evolved from there. I ended up doing it way past his prime years. He got ill and did 20 years there. But I can remember those initial crowds, even on that Sunday afternoon, that whole hillside there, up Broad Street there by the old Weavers was, it was mind blowing. I mean, we were drawing that with the Elvis impersonators.
Oh, God, yes.
And David Vaughn was great at it.
He was fantastic. What a show he did.
But who knew? That's what I'm saying.
Nobody. You know, people saying, "What's the chicken festival?" So, well, we're going to find out. Starting at 5:00 Thursday, and we had vendors that were reluctant. You know, didn't know what it was going to be. And opening up on a Thursday was different.
Right.
And we wanted an extra day, and that was kind of just get our feet wet day, really. And at 5:00, people disappeared from everywhere. And we had vendors trying to get in. Said, "Well, you got to wait till tonight or tomorrow. Now it's just too busy. You can't come set up." So we were mildly surprised, if you would say the least, on the number of people that were there Thursday when it opened.
Looking back, it was the perfect storm, though. You had an entertainment-starved community, plus you guys had done a pretty good job marketing this. Whether you realized it or not, there was a lot of anticipation and a good buzz created about it. Just because it was something new, I think. So it was the perfect storm of a lot of different things coming together there.
And you had that, you know, Colonel Sanders. That was he was an icon then, you know, and that was it.
Well,
so
yeah. He obviously always will be. You know.
But you talk, you know, about the entertainment, you know, and we try to get variety. But when we were as a steering committee, the tourist commission gave the chicken festival, which somehow I got the position of coordinator.
Sure.
But they gave us $10,000 seed money.
Okay.
And part of the stipulation that came out of the board that there would be no paid entertainment. We were going to be like and have all free entertainment, and there'd be no paid advertising, what publicity you could get. So you had to really work for that free stuff. Mm-hmm. And WKYT, WYMT, God, how big that was. And we were in Drew Weaver's having a hot dog. with Delford McKnight, bless his heart. And I mentioned that he wanted to do something. I wanted fireworks. There hadn't been a fireworks in here since going back to Country Club. They had a problem with it.
Right.
I said, but we got no money. He said, well, let me make a phone call. And he comes back from his back table and says, book it. It was $1,000 fireworks show is all it was. And I said, well, we don't have any paid entertainment either, or advertising.
Right.
And he said, well, he comes back a minute later, and all of a sudden I got $1,000. So we started sending out to the area newspapers, radio, said, here's $100, had 10 of them. Give me what you can for $100. And they fell over. And then one thing leading to another.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, we had David Vaughn and Elvis, Lawrence came up with that. And it was just mind-boggling, and that helped set the tone for our future entertainment for many years, the crowd that showed up for that.
Absolutely. And not only, and we'll jump back into the Chicken Festival in a minute, but I want to touch on this for a second. When you have an event that goes over that big, then people start looking at Laurel County as a place to have their events. And it created a lot more, it was a domino effect.
I truly felt that. And I, as a tourism director, I could see it. We started the Civil War reenactment, Camp Wildcat, that very same year, 2 months later.
Wow, that was 1990 as well.
2 months later, and that is just, that's as far as I'm concerned, even when I left, it was the finest reenactment in the state,
yes,
bar none. And I think it's even better since they got rid of me.
Smartest thing they ever did.
But I think this might be the time really to jump in. One of the things that gave us a lot of attention was London Bucket. Harold Smith made a cast iron skillet just put on display.
He did that just because of the Chicken Festival. Here, I want to do this.
Yep, and he was one that helped. We built it. We had a stage the first year, and we worked on that. There was a crew of people that worked on that till 11, 12 o'clock every night. We had it stored over at the old tobacco warehouse. Hard physical work. And we built that stage out of a tractor trailer that had been donated. I can't remember if it was Griffin Pie or Flowers Bakery. And, it had the collapsible floor and all. And we had to hand crank it. And then eventually that went, but Bud Shell was responsible for that. He ran to that. And then on the skillet, so I want to make sure you get in here.
Oh, we're going to get Doug in here too, yeah. But the skillet now, that was a good marketing strategy for him. But I want to tell you what the Chicken Festival is. It's a testament to a community of like-minded people coming together and doing something not for profit, as you said, but just doing something for their community. And now it's 29 years old. This is the 29th birthday of the World Chicken Festival, and it's stronger than ever.
The trustees and the volunteers, all non-paid. They're all out of goodness for what is good for Laurel County, London, and for this whole area, really.
We were excited about it. We did, like I said, we did the Sunday thing, and then I was involved in some radio stations on down the line too that was involved in, like Super Tent and things like that. So I was in my initial involvement back when I was much younger and felt better. What was a whole lot more. Now I can just go and enjoy it, eat a funnel cake and get a piece of chicken or whatever, and don't have the pressure of having
I'm going
to
to try that. I'm going to try that.
Yeah,
I've been back.
nice.
I've been there 1 year since I didn't want to get in and get in the way.
So I did it 20 years. I thought that was a good time to round it off. But this is not about that. Let's talk now. The skillet. The first year it was just a showpiece.
Correct.
And it was there the first year though in 1990.
Yep.
We had the skillet.
Yep. He built it. And we had it put on a trailer. And I hope I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that first year that we had it.
Doug, you're allowed to correct it if you want to.
As my understanding, they didn't have it the very first year. It's the second year that they had it.
But we didn't fry in it.
No, you didn't fry it until
But I think he had it built, I think.
He may have.
Yeah.
So what's the deal? You had a skillet on display. London Bucket built it, but let's don't cook out of it.
I actually wasn't privy to that at that time.
I said it couldn't be done.
Okay.
Tom Handy said, yeah, we can. And next thing I know, we're frying chicken out behind the church there on Broad Street.
I remember the first year they set it up.
It's the most famous, iconic thing that the Chicken Festival offers the world.
It gives us a real uniqueness. It really, really does. And, you know, besides being a major fundraiser that for the festival that Doug and his crew did, that's why I want to make sure he told you about everything went in developing and the growing pains they had there.
Let's talk about the skillet, Doug.
Okay.
How long have you been doing the skillet?
Last year was 24 years.
You're in charge of the skillet. That's your
No, not now. I'm not. I've turned it over.
Okay.
I've retired. Like
Okay. So last year was your last year with the skillet.
correct.
Okay. All right. You'll be getting a few calls, so that thing in and of itself. I mean, just like if you Google World Chicken Festival and you don't go to the page chickenfestival.com, it'll send you different places. Wikipedia is one place, and then but the main thing that it features the world's largest stainless steel skillet. Now I don't know if that still holds true, but on the internet, the world's largest stainless steel skillet, diameter 10 feet 6 inches, and can cook 600 chicken quarters at a time.
Yeah, roughly that. Yeah, it can. We never press it that hard, but yeah, it can. That's what we figured you can hold it.
And it actually tastes good too.
Oh yeah.
It's good.
We worked on
Very
that. David, once again, David Vaughn, not the same David Vaughn did the
Yeah.
Elvis impersonation. He and I worked on slowing down the cooking temperature and everything. Just
Yeah.
worked on it over the years.
So, you got it down to an art and a science. Now people look forward to that. And of course, a few years ago, now this guy is commanding the rooms. He's got Rough Arena sold out, but he played the Chicken Festival. And one thing, and I interviewed him there, and one thing Chris Stapleton talked about was that good fried chicken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah, he enjoyed the fried chicken, but it is really good. I always try to get some chicken while the Chicken Festival's here. And another thing, this from the Chicago Times, and the Chicago Times is one of the biggest newspapers in the world. They did a piece on the Chicken Festival at one time, and it says home to the very first restaurant established by Kentucky Fried Chicken founder Colonel Harlan Sanders. Laurel County throws this annual extravaganza. Who came up with that?
I've got to plead guilty on that. I kind of think I overdid it though.
Yeah, that still holds up. As silly as it is, it still holds up. But it says, in celebration of its fine feathered heritage, the poultry party features a hot wing eating contest, a clucking competition, and the event's famous chicken scratch, in which children dig through 600 pounds of flour in search of cash. I don't know if they still do that, but it says crowds of up to 150,000. Chicken meals are plentiful in supply thanks to the world's largest. As I said, now they go into the stainless steel skillet, diameter 10 feet 6 inches and 600 chicken quarters. So general admission free of charge, but they did that right up in there. And there's so many like that. There's so many events taking place, small events inside this one huge event. And they'll do one thing for a while and then they'll do something else. I know that. Does the train still run around through there?
No, it got just too busy, too congested. Skip had that train. Yeah. You just could not. We said it was just it's dangerous.
Well, there is a lot of people on Main Street.
Just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
We tried it one year on the outskirts, and he was there as a fundraiser for the Shriners. That steals a lot of time, and it just wasn't worth it.
So some of the folks that were among the original crew, and some of them are no longer even here. But let's talk about some of those folks.
Man, it goes way back, and I'm glad you had that list over there, because some of them I hadn't thought about in so long. But Caner Cornett was the president of the commission,
Yes.
first commission. Chicken Festival, Tom Handy, Jim Handy.
Yes.
There was Scott Smith. I'm not sure Scott was one of the very originals, but
Scott was in with the super tent with Jim Donnelly and Joe Pruitt. And Scott wasn't up there present as much as they were. He was up there, but Shiloh was part of that.
God,
and
they
Pepsi
were vile. Yeah.
And then I guess it was Southern Belle at the time. But yeah, that was a big deal because the radio stations helped sponsor that I was program director for back then, and that was a great entertainment. Aside from the main stage, that was great entertainment there too.
Absolutely.
It was.
We had Raymond Asher, bless his heart. Past Raymond was
Yes,
a radio
Raymond.
man, and he did a lot for us. Jan Riddle, she had a restaurant here in town, and she helped us. And Scotty Offit, and that's one person that I recognize the face, but the older I get, the harder it is for me to recall these names. But let me see who, I know I'm missing a couple. Of course, Delford was on there. Harris Martin, he was supervisor for the JRN, and he came on board, and Eddie Jones. There was a host of people that came on and did little things that would never get any recognition. People at the staff, the Tourist Commission. You had Meta Ball.
Yes.
And then we had Judy Nicholson. And then Peggy came in, and Peggy and her sister came down to visit. And next thing you know, she's here every year. But her, Peggy, and Elaine, it's just yeoman's job of how much they did. And, they took care of me. I mean, I'll take care. They were the problem solvers, and there were plenty of them. And as years went on, the problems became less and less and less, and it usually had to do with a disagreement. But the police department, God, they were there from day one. The EMS, but they took care of things, and we had very few incidents ever over all the years I was there. Very few.
Well, we're 29 years old now, and you talked about the police department. There was a year, I can remember, we had the offshoot of the Sunday thing got so big that we, in later years, we made a separate tent for that and had gospel entertainment all the way through the festival too. But I can remember once that there was a threatening storm on Saturday evening.
Yeah,
that's chaos when you say everybody got to go home.
That was a tough decision. To close it down. Mm-hmm. You know what? And it blew by, and then the next thing you know, it's just like nobody had ever left.
Yeah, that's hard decisions to make, though. You're in on those too, Doug. But the weather was very, very kind to the Chicken Festival for a lot of years.
The very first year, if we had not had good weather, we would have never known if it was going to work. And there probably is. Probably may not have been a second one. And I've been there where I saw tents blowing down the street.
That's what I was going to say. It took a turn, and there was a bunch of years there in a row of bad weather for the Chicken Festival. It's like, oh no, we can expect a bad week of storms because it's Chicken Festival week. It seemed like it turned on a dime. I don't even know what the forecast for this week, but it's straightened up in the last few years.
Thursday, the forecast for the event is cool but nice weather, sunny, and it's going to get chilly. Yeah. And we've been there where you had to have thermal underwear on at night.
There's been some cold ones. Some of those early ones were really cold. Yeah. I can remember that too. Yeah. So now, let's go back to the skillet for a second here. I would say electricity just running that thing is amazing.
It's actually gas, natural gas.
Natural gas?
Yeah. It burns enough natural gas in 3 days to supply a house for a year.
Wow.
I mean, you're pumping 1.5 inch gas line down through that thing and 8 burners.
Yeah.
Thank you, Delta Gas.
Delta Gas, yeah, absolutely.
And that tent stays full where that is. They've moved the main entertainment down there next to you. Has that increased your crowd?
Yes and no. It's sort of a hindrance on like Saturday night because we're so close together that
and you can't stay it's hard to stay organized.
It's
you all have a really well organized thing there. You got the lines and you got your church group, whoever it is working it. They know what to do. Everybody's been you've always done an outstanding job at having that thing manned and manned perfectly. And that's what we always tried to do on Sunday was as long as these guys didn't have to worry about what we were doing down there, we did that. So same thing with your skillet, but I'll bet you that has created a lot more chaos for the skillet.
Yeah, it did. Especially the first year they came down there, it was quite a bit of if we hadn't had the police there to keep order, it would have been a problem. And the reserve people, the National Guard and stuff.
Yes,
they were there to help keep order too.
Yeah, what a blessing they were.
Yeah, National they were.
Guard. Man in uniform and got respect. Police, and in London, a police officer got respect. That tells you a lot about our people too.
And the Chicken Festival is one of them things where people, there are people who don't like it anymore. Let's face it.
Yeah, sure.
They don't. They wish it would just go away. Here's why it can't go away, though. There are so many groups that are funded through it, and it's non-commercial. So, like a commercial venture can't come down and put up a booth and sell, whatever. It's like Applebee's or Cheddar's, or they can be involved, but not. They can't rent booth space. That has to be a nonprofit entity, and it funds so many AAU teams and so many church camps and so many. If you say, well, everybody's sick of this, we just, it's run its course. We've been here almost 30 years. Let's pull the plug. People start pulling. No, you can't do this that way.
The average festival, its average life is 10 years old.
Really?
Yes, if you look at it statistically.
Yeah.
And of course, there's some that's been there 100 years too. But you got to be doing something right to be around for 100 years or 30 years.
So you had your people, though, at first saying, you can't do this. It won't work. It'll never work.
Oh, sure. I mean, there's plenty of that.
How do you balance the folks who are loyal to the Laurel County Homecoming? How do you do that?
Well, the homecomings,
there
were people said that we were going to destroy it. And, that certainly was never the intent, but that was a festival.
Well, you're the tourism director.
Yeah.
Laurel County Homecoming that's as much you as the chicken festival.
We put money into that and helped them any way we could. But it was a homecoming, and we were doing a festival. It was out the state park, and we were downtown. And I think one of the things it did, it raised their expectations of what they were going to do and made it a better homecoming eventually. And it got the word around. And I think they started doing they tried a lot of things. Some worked and some didn't, just like we did. So, it turned into a good, solid event.
Mm-hmm.
But people were saying that before we started Chicken Festival. Well, it stayed the course. People not interested anymore. So you have to do different things and try stuff to keep the interest.
You do.
In whatever you're doing.
Homecoming ebbs and flows. It's got the pageants are obviously the draw there, but they're getting their entertainment back. It ebbs and flows. There's been some years where it's waned, and then some years where it's went back up. I think a downtown event, obviously you already have the dense population there, whereas you're going out to a more remote area, not very remote, but it's more sparsely populated toward the park, and driving instead of walking, things like that. And that's just changing of the times. It has nothing to do with Laurel County Homecoming or anybody's homecoming. Mm-hmm. It's just times change. They do.
I mean, look at the way on your media advertising for the Chicken Festival. I'll brag on her, but my daughter, when she gets into social media, she's doing stuff I never saw.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't even had a clue.
Marketing is
how much marketing to do on the web and that. I just buy a newspaper, send out that $100, say, give me what you can in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And it's the same way with the homecoming. They've got to say, well, we'll try this. I mean, they tried rides down there at times. I don't know, who's running it now, but I know there was some new life came in. And that is vital that you do get some young people coming in for the older people that are leaving.
Absolutely.
And they have to have the same dedication, but the same intent.
Mm-hmm.
If you go change it all of a sudden, so we want these commercial vendors to come in, and then all of a sudden the Optimist Club isn't going to do what they're doing.
They have some people now that are working on it very hard, and they've really, the last few years, and they're down through the years, there's been started a lot for homecoming. There's been a lot of people who have done a lot for the homecoming. And they've got a good crew now who have, I think, their heads on straight and looking at the big picture, and it's making a valiant return, I think. But the Chicken Festival, I can't see it ever going away.
Never say never, but you would hope not.
Yeah, you guys have to have some funny stories.
Well, when you're talking about was it going to work, we had to serenade a ride company to come to London and set up rides in downtown London.
And now, how many wants to bid on it?
Oh, God, I don't even answer. But we would go to this county fair and horse show, and all these ride companies there. And I met these people for had the Nolan Amusements, and it was Kevin and Cheryl Nolan. Bless their hearts, they're both passed. We got them to come down here with their crew. Austin, remember Austin?
Oh yeah.
He was the cool one, and Cheryl was a little bit salty at times. So Lawrence is there in his customized van, and we're escorting him around, and he's doing He's doing this cell shop. Well, no. I mean, you go down, you look, our streets out there, there's slopes, there's all kind of good wires everywhere. And so they said, we'll give it a try. So they stay there, Austin, and he gets everything plotted. This ride's going here, here, okay. And so get back, and Kevin, her husband, he starts saying, well, no, I want this ride over here and over there. And so they show up, and all hell breaks loose. You can't put that ride there. It goes 28 foot there, and this slope, you got to.
Yeah,
shit.
A lot of logistics to that.
Oh, I'm panicking. I'm calling everybody. I'm calling all 13 people on this committee.
Yeah.
You got to come down here. I need help. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it's the first time and all that. I didn't know what to do.
And it's time we got to make a decision now on this, right? I mean, this is.
No, I'm afraid we ain't going to have no rides. And so I got them all down there, and we met again at 3 o'clock. And here comes this sweet little lady. Everything's cool. She never. It wasn't like that. And they did tremendous amount of money on what they expected. And we met right here in this office, and we'd settle up, and we're going on their figures. Because they had the tickets numbered and all that. And I remember, because it came to tradition when they handed us the money and said, here's what you're getting. And it was X-Mut and Bud Shell, bless his heart. He said, is that all there is?
Yeah.
And their jaws dropped. I mean, just dropped. What do you mean? We only expected to do half of that. But that was a major part of our revenue was from the rides. And it continued to, and they brought bigger rides and better rides. Because the first year, they brought some, I'd say today, some pretty crappy looking stuff if you went and compared it. But then we came up with another company after they passed, and they were found some more times, and they come there out of their Kentucky company. And I'm not even sure if they're still the ride company. I can't imagine, but they were fine folks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could sit here and tell you little stories all day like that.
Just having rides in downtown London was such a unique concept to people that people wouldn't come to see that. There's so many things.
And the first year, we had to improve the rides after that, which they did. They tell me Joy McFadden was in last week. Bless her heart, she worked.
She's worked for years on the parade, right?
We wanted horses, and we had horses in the parade. Disaster. So we wanted them again. So Joy and I got in tuxedos, and we were pooper scoopers.
Oh.
And we bought that whole route, and that's when the parade started way up the street. And one of the city workers, and I had to come back and help. They put it. He said, you're not having a parade. You're having a festival with a parade. So that eliminated the horses because we got to put diapers on it. I mean, to a horseman, that's what they do with the big ones. But right here, you ain't putting diapers on my horse.
So y'all were in a tuxedo, scooping up.
Yeah. So
I got video of that.
I hope not. There was a super tent. Golly, what an attraction that was. And those guys, Joe Pruitt and Jim, and we talked about that, and Pepsi. But they had karaoke. They come over and they talked me into doing celebrity karaoke one night. Want me to come? I know, and so I finally go over there. And I don't know the words to this song, but they got me doing karaoke to stroking it. I think that was about as embarrassed as I'd ever been in my life. Halfway through it, I said, did I just say that? And I'm looking out in front, and I can't. One of the ministers I know was sitting in that crowd. And Mike down, Ken gone, didn't go back to super tent for the rest of that.
That's funny. Were you there? Did you see that, Doug? Or did you
No, I was thinking more. He said he'd never been that embarrassed before, but when he had the 8-man suit on and fought the bear, I did see that video.
Yeah, my daughter.
Somewhere it's around. You need to see that though.
Well, the super tent thing, they threatened me for years that it was around. Steve Wright did. And said, no, I've got that on video. I had to let him have that 5K run through the two towns because he threatened. But yeah, my daughter, you come here. I want you to come here a minute. She's here. Come here. I want you to hear what she told me about this wrestling bear. Now she's a young.
Okay. How old
she?
are you at the time, Kelly?
I was in middle school.
And your dad's gonna wrestle.
This is my daughter, Kelly Burton.
Yes, this is Kelly.
Yeah.
She's now the tourism.
Co-director.
Co-director. Yeah. So along with Kim. So anyway, your dad's going to wrestle a bear.
So, at that time, I really didn't understand what was going on. Middle school is a pretty crucial sink or swim time
Oh,
in middle
sure.
school.
Yeah.
And I remember being front row seat on the bleachers, and Dad rolls out looking like
Tarzan.
Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
In my eyes, he was Fred Flintstone. He had the dress on and the tights and this black long wig, and you're already embarrassed of your parents when you're in middle school, and that was the icing to the cake. And if I could have sunk away, I would have disappeared.
That's funny.
But then, on hindsight, going back to school, then I felt like I was my own little celebrity because everybody knew my dad wrestled the bear.
Once he did that, that's good.
She-
So, go ahead.
She comes up to me in tears, says, "I can't ever go to school again." I mean, I remember telling me that. That wasn't that bad.
So now, how does it feel though to step into these shoes? After 7 years, because you just got this job when Rodney Henderson did a fabulous job. But you've not only got Rodney's shoes to fill, but you're in the shadow of
Right.
the
There
guys
are, with the week
in
of
the chicken festival.
the
And
festival.
now this is your first one. How do you feel about it? I know your dad's proud of you.
Well,
Very,
that's
very.
one thing he's always been. He's not been shy to tell me how much he's proud of
Yeah.
me, whether I'm in middle school or taking over the
Well, I know he
festival.
is, and he's told me that. But yeah. So how does it feel though?
Well, this is the first time of me being in the midst of all of it, so I've kind of known in the background how it's ran, just of hearing the backside of what all the work that's
Could
been
you
done.
even fathom preparing for it? I mean, as far as what you already knew, I know it's helped you this week or prepare for this week, but there's way more to it.
There's way more to it, and all I can do is people like my dad and Doug and all
Good
the original people that have
You
set the
guys.
foundation to make it go as smoothly as it does.
Having good people in charge of this, that, and the other, that's what makes it go. It's like a well-oiled machine. And now a lot of the original ones, like myself and Doug now, he's not doing the skillet this year, but those have been roles that somebody else had to step into. People still keep doing a fabulous job. It's just, it's a legacy really. It's synonymous with London, Kentucky. The Chicken Festival is.
But I'm sure she will. She's got, she'll come up with new ideas, but she gets through. She ain't trying to change the festival this year.
Right.
You don't ever want to come in and start trying to change stuff right off.
No, you want to learn
And
first.
I've told her if she's got questions, I'll help. I'll answer how I used to do it, but I don't want to go into that. Well, this is what we used to do.
Okay.
Because I've not been involved in it. She'll be fine, and she's got Elaine.
Oh, she'll be
still
fine.
here.
Yeah, Elaine's
Elaine's
still
retired, and it's written.
She's got 30-something.
Christy's going to have.
Yeah.
She's going to have her hands full this week until just learning.
It has to be stressful. It's stressful. It has to be.
Well, you told me to brag on you, so. But if the gospel tent, however I got you to do that, I don't know. But if as a director but as a coordinator, if everything would have been like the gospel tent and the skillet, from my perspective, I didn't have to do a thing. I had to come by and bring you some chicken maybe, but him, when the festival, when he could get away from the skillet, he'd have things under control. He'd do 28 other things for me. Festival closed when the skillet closed down. Didn't operate on Sunday. It's all tore down on Sunday or Saturday night. He's there all day Sunday working right until these devices will go home too. But we had a lot of people like that, and that's what makes any event go. And you were
I appreciate
and there
you
are
saying
hundreds of people, and some do good and some do bad. Barry Cup took over entertainment with Lawrence in the entertainment. He was there from start to finish.
Lawrence was
He
very-
wasn't gonna accept unless UK was playing. He wasn't. Somebody had to fill in for him, and that's where Barry would get Cup would get his.
Lawrence was detail oriented. He was very detail oriented. He had a lot of great ideas, and even Sunday he would offer suggestions that always worked, but he's like, in the crowd, he said, here's how we can get the crowd more involved,
And he did.
passed out little tambourines and things like that, things that I didn't know we could afford, and really I wouldn't have thought of anyway, but just, he was very detail oriented.
He was in his element there, though. As hard as he
He
worked,
enjoyed that.
he loved it.
Yeah.
He loved it. He did events all over this county. for umpteen organizations, and he was a banker. I mean, if an act was $5,000, somehow he'd say, "I got it for $2,500, Ken."
Yeah,
Because I just give him the checks, tell me what it was.
He knew how to negotiate.
He negotiated.
But you learn that as you go. You know, I've had to do a lot of that myself. But Doug, let's talk a little bit more now about your experiences with the Chicken Festival. You have to love it, or be a glutton for punishment, or a combination of the two.
Combination of two usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Because I know how much he depended on you, and they depended on you, especially with the skillet. And who wants to be in charge of that hot mess?
yeah. Well, I told him a long time ago. I said, just stay out of my parking lot. We'll be okay.
It's hard to get along with when you get
I
to the
told
parking
Kim.
lot.
I told Kim the same thing. It worked after the first hour or two.
So if you don't mind me asking, who's in charge of the skillet?
I think Kim's taking over running the skillet itself, or and Blaine or Blair, what's his last name? But yeah, he's setting it up and stuff, and David Vaughn will be running.
Yeah.
Actually, run it. David been my sidekick for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And,
So he knows already about what he's doing.
Apgard?
Apgar.
Blair Apgard.
What's the craziest thing ever happened to the skillet down
At
there?
the skillet, Lord have mercy. Got an hour or two. There's a lot of crazy things.
Just one or two?
Oh, let me think. Oh, back Ken Harvey was adamant that you call the city police to take the money to the bank. You know, you gather up a lot of money sometimes. And so one time I decided, well, I'll do that. You know, and the city police was always hanging out up around Weaver's. You know, so I called down there and Ed McFadden, the mayor or ex-mayor. I said, Ed, I need a couple cops down here, but no big hurry, nothing going on. Okay, well, Ed couldn't hear. I don't, a lot of times he
Hard here.
him and his wife would stand on one side of when they was marking the streets, and they'd holler at each other, and neither one of them could hear it. And anyhow, he says, I'll take care of it. There's two of them standing out here. Well, it just so happened it was Jim and one we call Hoghead.
Oh, God, all of it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I looked up, and this is when we was in that gravel parking lot over of the attorney's office. And back through the darkness here, them boys come running. I mean, from uptown. And they come down there and they run up to me, and I'm standing down there in the gravel, and they sucking air, both of them. And I said, what's up, boys? And they said, Mayor told us you need us down here. And I said, what for? And then boy said you was having problems down here. And I said, I don't have no problems. No, they boys was just plumb out of breath. Just about ready to have a heart attack. Both of them. Yeah.
And they didn't arrest him for reporting a
I didn't
false
report
claim.
anything.
Yeah.
If they got anybody, they got Ed. They've been a lot of things going down there, and a lot of fun things, and stupid things happening.
Yeah.
Hoghead. Doug had the bathtub.
Yeah.
That was a big attraction. And to get those people to come. But 3 o'clock in the morning, Doug Gregory, also known as Hoghead.
No, Doug Gregory, and that was Doug Gregory's the one that had the dog had Kilo.
Well, he R.D. Mercer me too.
Yeah.
If you know who R.D. Mercer is. There's a city cop up there fishing in the bathtub. So I had to put a daggone guard on that, make sure nobody else got up there.
I remember they brought chickens in one year, live chickens.
God, I mean, and that year I had a room at the town center. I said instead of driving back for an hour and coming home, I come take a shower. And come day, it's like on the lake right now. I know when the fish gonna start biting because I hear the chicken crowing. Well, at daylight chicken festival,
Tell people about it.
I got 300 chickens crowing, and I thought that's it. The mayor, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do. You can't shut him
up late at night.
Now.
Waking them up early in the morning.
I don't know what I'm going to do because I know he's going to. They're going. And I go down to his office and he said, "What chickens?" But the exotic chickens they had on display. I mean, I think I just had it a couple of years, and we outgrew it though. We literally outgrew having those. But I was in a pan. That's not as much as when the ride company showed up.
That's nothing to worry about.
So I don't know what I'm going to do about that one either.
Yeah.
Well, he was always trying to move in, get as much into the festival. That was his deal. Get everything.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Well,
He's
I was
right in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, he got more in the middle of it. Somebody came in late, had a bunch of dogs. They had a dog act.
Oh,
The
that
only
was
place
great.
that they could put them was right next to where I was feeding 300 people at a time.
He didn't
and-
like it.
And them dogs, they'd be running and jumping, and dog hair would be floating.
Wasn't it a heck of a show they put on though?
Yeah,
They were good.
They'd come get my chairs out from under the tent and take them down to the section.
I saw that same act on America's Got Talent this year. Boy, they were good.
He keeps trying to put it up.
Can't remember. I didn't think he'd remember that one.
Oh, yeah, I'd never forget that one.
And then we had, after the festival, somebody ran into, smashed the side of Tom Jensen's office there on the corner of 3rd and Main. That's another one of those, what do? You
Yeah,
call Delford, because he's friends with Tom. I said, Del, you got it. And Tom handled it fairly well.
Yeah.
But seriously, anytime that you really had to have anything done, Bud Shell was the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Bud Shell, get it done. I
How
don't
long's he been
care.
gone?
It's been at least a decade, hasn't it?
It's been 10 years, hasn't it? No, it's been about 7 years.
And he was there for the reenactment. He was there side by side.
But
with me.
Bud was involved in it just till he couldn't no
Couldn't,
longer.
yeah. And
He was a city building inspector, and he was one of those that went to Circleville. And if you wanted something done, all you had to do was tell Bud, we can't do that.
Well, another plus you had with him is he loved you.
Oh yeah.
He thought that was the coolest thing in the world that came to London. So
Oh, he caused a lot of nightmares for us. So him just doing stuff without, you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah, you can.
yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes he
Don't
just
ever tell him it can't be done. So,
Or-
And Randy Smith and Phil Smith volleyball tournament. That was a great addition.
Yeah.
Look at what he's talking
So
about.
many
Looking at
things. Yeah.
wanting to have as many things. When you got to our program, the Sentinel was doing that, giving us 10,000 copies. Bud Shell load them up in, Virginia, his wife, bless her, and he would have those all over the county and all over the Tri-County, taking those into gas stations, any place where he could put out a handful of them.
yes.
And but the progress, I mean, golly, it was a full
Everybody looks forward to those
pages.
coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, we got to wrap things up. Good, great to talk to you.
Well, wait a minute, I got
Big
some
part
more
of
pages of
history.
notes.
Well, you can keep talking if you want to. We're going to turn the www.chickenfestival.com.